This is what 30 days of self-improvement does to a man. Clearly fucking cost him a few of his brain cells. If you're thinking about making serious changes in your life, to your lifestyle, whatever, stick around because this is for you. The whole idea is that I can go through this at the ground level so that number one, you can relate to it, and number two, you can understand to it and extract more value, because since I'm a beginner, my problems are your problems. Okay, so as for week one, there's nothing really too noteworthy to say here. It was a normal week as far as my baseline goes. So I was gaming pretty heavily, I was eating like shit, I was drinking, I was also pretty addicted to vaping. I would, have a double-double, which if you're not Canadian, you don't know what that is, but it's a coffee with a shitload of cream and sugar in it every day. And I wasn't going to the gym, anything. Nothing was really going well. So week one was basically my baseline. Maybe a few slight kind of improvements, setting a couple goals, kind of getting the wheels turning, but that's about it. All right, so week two is where things really start to change. The first big thing that I did is start going outside. Literally, I went and touched grass. As stupid as it sounds, that had a pretty big impact on my mental health overall. I also made a point to kind of socialize with people when I'm out there, say good morning to the old folks taking their walks in the park, that kind of thing. This had a really positive impact on my mental health. Before that, I was pretty isolated and a bit of a shut-in, so that could be why. Secondary to that, I quit everything except for vaping. So that meant I wasn't watching any entertainment videos on YouTube, no movies, television. I quit gaming, everything. And the only thing that I kept was really vaping. That was the hardest one to kick. And of course, I was still drinking cream and sugar and shit in my coffee. Not really a huge deal, that one. Then I started to get a little bit consistent with some of the habits. It was kind of not super well executed, just beginning with it, but I was meditating almost every day. Towards the end of the week, I believe I was twice a day, pretty consistently. Didn't really journal, kind of here and there. I had a bit of a routine, kind of followed it. Tried to get into a sleep schedule, didn't really work for me. But I did start tracking it and everything like that. And then the other thing was that I wasn't allowed to spend any time on anything that's deemed unproductive or wasteful of my time. The idea was that just taking a hard look in the mirror and at my life, can I really afford to be doing things the way that I'm doing? If I want to game or watch TV or whatever, I'm sure there'll be time in the future when I don't have so many problems. So that meant that I spent all my time reading books about improving your life or about business, productivity, whatever, videos, doesn't matter. It was about spending my time, even if I'm going to watch YouTube, then that's what I have to watch. If I'm going to sit there and do nothing or whatever, then read a book. Pretty straightforward, and that went well for me. It gave me a lot of ideas and kind of helped further some things along. And I also, during that second week, started this YouTube channel, which went pretty well in the beginning. Week three is where things started to get really interesting. The first half of the week was, for all intents and purposes, perfect. I was meditating twice a day, was going to the gym every day, I was still sleeping like shit. That's still a problem, that one. It's a tough one for me particularly. I'm a bit of an insomniac. But yeah, everything, I was journaling twice a day in the morning and at night and following a schedule, pretty strictly, eating well, everything, you name it. So, but what's interesting is halfway through the week, it kind of fell apart on me. It was more towards the end of the week, there's Thursday, Friday into the weekend that week, I remember. But I just started to basically just get super low and depressed about everything. And I was questioning my own identity, thinking is about everything that I'm doing, wondering if it's what I want to be doing, wondering who I am, where I'm going, all of this stuff, and just kind of deteriorating. I think part of it might have been a bit of a rubber band effect, which intensified into the fourth week. Up to this point, I was still putting out a few YouTube videos. I was doing pretty consistent work with that. But the self-consciousness kind of took over, and I was so critical of my own content that I couldn't upload it. But there were a few good things that happened this week. Namely, I did quit vaping cold turkey, broke a bunch of rules with that too. But I was able to stop that and no issues since. And I also kind of cleaned up my diet. I drink my coffee black, for example. That was one thing I did. So it's not that nothing got done, and I didn't go backwards on any of the other habits. So yeah, week 3 was a bit of a mixed bag. Week 4 was where things started to get really interesting. So I was working most of that week, but even on the weekend just prior to it, things just totally fell apart for me. Like I was just like binging TV all day, eating like shit, drinking beer. I didn't go back to smoking. I didn't game, anything like that. Like I wouldn't say that I went backwards on any of the things that I was super serious about kind of cutting out or changing in my life, but I did kind of just get really loose and sloppy with everything. But I did get outside and I did some landscaping with my family, and that was good. I got out in the sun, learned some things. Did not regret, and I made a bit of money, so I'm not regretful about that at all. But it's about the only productive thing I did. I did, read a little bit, but it's been pretty minimal. And of course, because I was outside and exercising all day, I did kind of lose some weight and stuff. If in my very first video, I mentioned that I'm kind of doing like a soft cut, so that helped accelerate that a little bit. And through that, I did manage to find a job through another family member where I can kind of set myself up with a job that's going to work for me long term, which is awesome because that's been another huge struggle for me. So things, I feel like I kind of got some of the results of working on myself, but this week kind of went backwards. And I do, again, think that that was a bit of a rubber band effect from pushing so hard the weeks prior. With that said, though, I did keep a lot of the ground that I made. And it's interesting. I'll talk about that more in a second here. And I let self-consciousness get so bad that I didn't make any videos. So that's great. Though one thing I want to mention about the week prior, when I was having those identity issues, within week 4, a lot of those kind of resolved. I kind of came to some conclusions where I realized that I just kind of have to be authentic. I have to be myself. I have to do what I think is right and what I think is good and what I think will work at the end of the day. I kind of have to trust my gut. So just a quick summary. Week 2 and 3 were the most productive weeks. Week 4, I experienced a bit of a rubber band effect and kind of snapped back, slid backwards a little bit into some bad habits, and I'm just climbing my way to that now. I still made progress, just slowed down considerably. One thing I will say is, contrary to popular advice, making like a lot of people say to make like one manageable change at a time so that you stick to it. I've actually found that for me, doing multiple things at once, even though you definitely will rubber band a little bit, you take ground and you're more likely to keep it, because bad habits support each other just like good habits support each other. If you're going to drink, you're likely to smoke. If you like sugary coffee, if you can't control what you eat, you're likely to give in other areas of your life. But for me, I found that just making this kind of one fell swoop, cut everything out, it supported each other in a weird way. Because once I dropped everything else, the gaming, everything, I was like, well, once I stopped gaming, I was like, well, I can stop wasting all my time watching television. And once I did that for a week, I was like, well, I feel like I'm in control. I can just stop vaping. And once I did that, I stopped taking so much shit in my coffee. It all kinds of feeds each other. And then, sure, I slide back a little bit and I end up watching TV and drinking a little bit, but still quit smoking, still haven't gamed, still have been like hundreds of times more productive than I was the month prior. So I kept a lot of what I earned. So just something to consider, because being so direct and kind of just attacking it, I feel like gets you farther. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So now I want to talk about my goals. For week 1, it's going to be about getting back to a baseline in terms of that schedule, that routine, and those basic habits. I'm going to be working a new job. I'm going to be signing up for a new gym. A lot is going to change. So that's going to be the more difficult part, is learning to balance all of that. But I think if I just stay committed, it's not going to be a problem. I'm going to try and put a big focus on habits that support mental health and clarity, like meditation and journaling. I think that that's going to be important, kind of like a cement for holding everything together, if that makes sense. And then a couple other things is, of course, like I said, I'm going to be signing up for a new gym. So a big one is going to be fitness. I feel like that's a core element that I've been missing. So that's going to be a huge focus. And secondary to that, I'm going to be trying to spend a little bit of, I have a bad habit of using kind of fucking coping language where I always say kind of, maybe, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to spend some time learning about business daily because I think it's important to me to learn about that. It's something that I've been interested in, making money online. So I don't want to just try one thing. I'd like to try a few things, and I'm going to start that this week. Another thing I need to do during week 1, which actually would be this week, is I need to map out some goals, long-term and mid-term and short-term. The thing that I learned, it was week 3, I didn't mention this, but I learned that without a long-term goal to kind of direct yourself, it's really hard to make the right decisions because you use that long-term goal as a way to basically frame your decisions. Does this or does this not get me closer to that goal? So then week 2 is really just going to be about staying consistent with all of those things that I implemented or re-implemented in week 1. And by then I should be hopefully making a little bit of money online, or at least kind of inching towards that. So we'll see how we go from there. As for week 3 and 4 of this month, it's going to be, I'm going to, kind of hash that out as I get a little bit closer to it. We'll see how week 1 and week 2 go, and then we'll go from there. But it should, again, at that point, just be about maintaining consistency. But if things go well, that's when it's going to start to get down to the good stuff. I think that's when I might start to see some larger change in my life as a result of these habits. Now, quickly, I want to talk about some of the challenges that I think I'm going to face going forward. Number 1 is my sister's wedding is this coming weekend, so probably going to have a few drinks, but honestly, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think that, again, these habits, I don't know what I'm saying again, I haven't said this, but I don't think that these habits are about completely sanitizing your life. I certainly plan on having a drink at some point in the future. I like to have cigars. It's not stuff like that. So at my sister's wedding, you're damn right I'm going to have a glass of champagne, and I'm not going to feel bad about it either. I think it's going to be tough for me to kind of cope with those feelings that I get of being lonely and kind of falling off the path. I'd be naive to expect that I'm not going to get some more of that. So fighting through that is going to be interesting, and I hope to gain some more knowledge and insight on that going forward too. And one thing that I tend to get lost on is, and again, setting those goals should help me with this, but getting deviated from my path, questioning what I'm doing, and then feeling kind of lost. I need to learn to take action even in those tough times, and taking action is going to help me achieve clarity. So if you've watched up to this point, that's amazing. I really appreciate your viewership. I know that this was a longer one. Really, for me, today was about just getting in front of the camera again because I've put this off. I wanted to do a recap video because I think it's important to stay true to that idea of documenting my progress with this channel. I really hope that I can help someone learn. So if you've learned from this, please let me know. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video, and I'm going to be more consistent with uploading.